Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very first episode of CRT. That stands for Cody
And Robbie,
Time. So, what this is going to be, for those of you that don't know, since this is going to be the very first video on this YouTube channel, we are going to be talking about various topics ranging from the somewhat serious to the somewhat playful. We are going to chop it into three different segments, and we're probably going to get a bit off the rails from time to time during those
a bit.
segments. Okay, very much off the rails. I don't know what rails are anymore.
I have rails in my shower.
But
Um,
the big part that we're going to be dedicating a lot of what the show's going to be talking about is mental health. Uh,
because we have issues.
oh yeah, pass the tissues. Uh, Rami and I both have various depression issues and anxiety issues. We both get them exacerbated because of various other issues that we have on the medical side and the, you know, drama side, I guess you could call it.
That's why we're friends.
Oh yeah, brother.
Brother. We, Cody and I have known each other for about 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and which is amazing. Um, been kind of crazy. It's been that long. Doesn't feel like it, does it, buddy? But
It really doesn't. I could still, I still remember when I walked into the that like coffee bar part of the church, and
we
then
went to church together.
yeah, and we just kind of started talking about wrestling.
Yeah, yep, yep. And my dad did plumbing work for your family, and so my dad kind of knew your family and introduced me to you. Like he told me about you, and then I met you at the coffee bar, and we went to youth groups together, and we didn't really pay attention. We did, but we didn't. So,
Yeah,
but this man that he's one of my best friends, and we've been talking about this for what, 5 years?
I think at least five. Yeah.
So I'm so glad that we can finally put it together. And I think Cody and I are in agreement that our goal with this show is to just help people
Yep.
to to be somebody's an emotional escape, lifeline, whatever you want to use, so they don't feel so alone.
Well, I'm hoping that
Anyway,
we can also show them some of the tools that we have to kind of deal with these issues that we have. Yeah, it's always good to pass along the tools that therapists and other people tell you. Also, it's just good to let people know that they're not in the same boat. It's kind of crowded on this boat.
it's very crowded. And on a side note, I just want to mention I do work for here in Colorado. I do work for the Colorado support line. We are a national support line, so I'll probably give that number out at some point in case anybody's out there and listening. We do help, and I've been working there for about 2 years now.
Yep,
So yeah,
we can put that number in the description of the video below, and do not hesitate to call that number.
you
I
might even get me, which don't don't tell me you're a listener, because then I won't be able to help you. But
Anyway, though, Rami, you had a topic that you wanted to bring up for this introductory episode, right?
Yeah. I think we're doing it, buddy. I think it's just, introducing ourselves and maybe just explaining more about our friendship and just how we came to want to do this podcast, really, and just maybe diving into our mental issues a bit,
Okay,
if
that
that's
sounds
good.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can also set up how we're gonna try, at least, to have these episodes go with the good, the bad, and the chunky.
So, where should we start, buddy? The good or the bad?
Well, I mean, usually I like to have a little bit of a sandwich, have something good, then something bad, then something good.
My friend Stewie.
uh, what? No, I'd never. No.
Hmm.
um,
Ah,
but the so I would say that we could start with the good first.
okay, let's do it.
All right. So,
First, you get a piece of bread. I'm just kidding.
so the good part that I would say about friendships, especially when they become something like this, is that you have someone that will help you up whenever you're falling down. At your bleakest moments, you have that person that'll be reaching down to that icy cold river that you find yourself in and pulling you up, sometimes forcefully by your collar.
My God, you're heavy.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying, bro.
It's okay. I am in a wheelchair. The chair, my wheelchair, kind of makes me sink down. So you had to be creative.
Well, I mean,
I'm disabled, by the way, just so everybody knows.
yep,
And
he is definitely one of the people that shows that you know definitely doesn't make him anything less of a person. He does a lot more than I've seen fully able-bodied people do.
well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
And and Cody has limitations of his own. He's kind of round, and he had back problems, but he has the best heart of a person that I know.
Oh, thanks, man.
He
I
really cares about people, even though because of his social anxiety, he doesn't like people. Uh, but if he really lets you in and you prove to him that you're not going to leave him or forsake him, then he's with you till the end. I would know.
Yeah, just call me Chucky. I'll be your friend to the end. Huddy
Oh
ho.
God, you know how I feel about that fucking doll. Yes.
So, the the good thing about friendships is that they can be a lifeline and they can be a safety net. One of the things that you're always going to hear from any kind of therapist that you have out there who's going to be talking to you about this, you need a safety net. You need people
Yep.
that you can rely on for when you're at your dark moments. Because if you're in that dark moment and you don't know who you can turn to, it makes it a hell of a lot harder.
Yep. Because you're on isolation island and it gets dark there and stormy and just it's hard to get off of.
Yeah, you don't even have a volleyball. I mean, come on. Poor
Yeah.
Wilson.
You don't have Wilson.
um, there are things that sometimes you want to do as a friend, though, because as a friend, you don't just want to be a yes man.
Nope.
If you just tell a friend what they want to hear, and if you just, speak nothing but honey, then it's just going to not make that friend of yours advance as a person. They're not going to keep going along with the times. They're going to be stuck where they are. And, sometimes it'll just hinder their growth as an individual while also making them feel terrible. Sometimes
Right.
people don't need to be told that they're doing good, or sometimes people don't need an ego boost. Sometimes they just need someone to talk to and just feel the emotions out, or sometimes they need to be brought down before they build themselves up a higher platform to fall from.
And sometimes that means, getting into those arguments, getting into those fights. Cody and I have. I mean, he doesn't live in Colorado. He lives in Arizona now. But when he was here and we were younger, talking, because I've known Cody since I was 13 and he was 14,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to fight, like physically fight.
Constantly. Yeah, I
Eh,
still remember the multiple times that we were fighting over the dumbest stuff too. Like looking back on it, it's one of those things that's just like, why were we fighting over that?
It was
Like
bonding.
fighting over who was going to like be taker with your wrestler toys.
Or fighting each other because you would get mad at something that I said without looking at the context of it.
Yep.
And it would just set you off. And I'm guilty of that too. But if you can have knockdown dragouts verbally, physically, emotionally, and still get back up and hug each other and say I love you, which we've done.
Yep.
Um, you know, they're your friends. You know, and your friends eventually, as you get older, become like your family.
Exactly.
So
That is why that's why we refer to each other as brothers. It also kind of helps for me that I was adopted, so kind of blood versus not blood siblings don't really matter to me.
I was
So,
adopted too. So
yeah,
it's kind of weird. We were both adopted.
it's scarily similar how we can be sometimes.
Yeah, like all and the great thing about friends, too, is Cody, especially me and you, buddy, is we can know how one of us is feeling without even having to say anything. Like they
Mm-hmm.
can just describe, one of us can just describe what's happening to them, and we could just be like, "Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about." And
Which is good
sometimes,
because sometimes talking about how you're feeling can be a nightmare.
yeah, and especially with us because we both have a very good relationship with suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
And, just the other day, I was having, or just this last week, I was having a tough day at work, which will happen in my line of work. And I texted Cody, "Can I go?" And anytime I've texted Cody, "Can I go?" he generally knows what that means, and he'll just say no and send me a funny GIF and just try to make me laugh because he knows I don't mean it. But in my situation and in Cody's, with his physical issues that I will let him talk about if he wants, he he and I just like to entertain the idea of having a way out.
I mean,
Am I fair in
if
saying what I'm saying or no?
it's fair, I think that a lot of people have that kind of thing, cashing out the chips, doing the big game over, that kind of thing. But
I would play the game.
but it's not one of the things that I think I've gotten more comfortable with is acknowledging that those thoughts show up sometimes. And sometimes what you have to do is just acknowledge the thought is there, say hi to the thought, but don't entertain it. And usually, my way of not entertaining it is engrossing myself in something else, like video games or a book.
Mostly video games.
Well, fair.
Um, I think I have a harder time dealing with that myself, um, because you know, and I'm not saying what you go through is any better, buddy, but Cody can physically walk.
Yep.
I can't. I have to have a walker. I have to have a chair. I'm not able to drive because my disability affects my dexterity. So I'm literally, I feel, sometimes I feel more trapped than he does in a different way. And I'm sure that makes sense to him. Um, you know, but what's good about having a good friend like Cody is he reminds you of your strengths and what you are doing, and that I have come a long way, because I used to be very, and I still am, which is why we're doing this show too. I'm very immature for being 30, almost 33. So, you know, I I don't always, when you're in the midst of emotional crisis, you're not thinking rationally. Um, so it's nice to have a friend who can kind of just bring you down to earth, even though
And
I don't want to be down here. Just kidding.
we all sometimes need that little crisp slap in the face sometimes.
If
Which is, of course, the verbally in what's the word? I don't actually take a plane over to Colorado just to give Rami a slap in the face.
what you did.
Plus, it wouldn't be a slap in the face to me. For me, it would be that Gibbs slap from NCIS, where just slap the back of your head.
I think we both know that I would just cry
Yeah,
and hug you and not let go for probably like an hour. But I just, you know, those mental slaps and those verbal slaps, like, hey, idiot, yeah, you know, you still have people here that care about you. Stop listening to the voice, because it is a voice, and that voice. I often say this to my callers. It's a bully. It wants to make you think that you're not good enough, and you need safety nets like your friends, like like a spouse, like your parents, whoever you have, to kind of snap you out of it and go, hey, you also need to work on it yourself. But it's also good to have those. The, having a good support system is so vital too. You
yeah.
know.
Especially because the way that I've seen it a lot of times is with people you're either your biggest fan or your harshest critic. And if you are your harshest critic, then you really need someone else to act as the mirror to tell you that you're not nearly as bad as you think you are, or you're more talented than you think you are, that kind of stuff. Because if it's left to us and we're our harshest critic, that's just spelling disaster.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't have the best relationship with myself. I'm learning how to love myself now. Um, I was a weed smoker for years, and I had chronic pain, but I think mentally, it was me not liking myself. and so it was me numbing that and just I'm learning how to love myself, which is hard
It's a very hard road,
because
yeah.
it's like why do we love each other? Like why do why do we have to love ourselves? Because I can say we're pieces of shit,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm learning through therapy, through different perspectives, through work that pieces of shit don't have people in their lives that care. They're just simply pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of defunking what the evil side is telling you, and I'm using my own verbiage. You guys that are listening or will be listening to this can use say the bully or the evil one or whatever you want to label your voice. I don't know, Cody, what do you call your voice?
Usually I just refer to it as that's just the voice. It's the warped mirror, I guess, because everything that you think of is warped by your own perception. You know, you think
Right?
that you know yourself so well that you know that no one should really love you because you have all of these flaws. And you're just pointing out what a lot of people would probably think of as the smallest flaws, but to you they could be as big as the Grand Canyon.
Well
And
said, my friend. Well said.
so it really is kind of like a warped mirror.
It is.
But that is where
Um,
good friends and family and all of them come in handy. Because they can be your mirror, and you don't have to look at the warped one. Put the funhouse mirror back in the funhouse.
God, I hate clowns. But it's
See, that's one
you
of the
need
things
people
that
to.
we aren't similar in, because I love clowns.
Good for you.
But sorry, you were saying.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say, but see, you also need good friends to just hear you out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, and I've learned this with Cody, especially. Sometimes it's just good to vent, right? Like, you don't always need to throw your 2 cents in. I used to do that all the time. I feel like, and now that we've been friends as long as we have, and just I've matured through work and just doing what I do every day or 4 days a week. You know, it's mostly about listening, you know, and just letting a friend say what they need to say, you know. But if a friend says something that's like really off base, you have the right to call them out and be like, yo, like, no, like, this isn't how it is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are loved. I love you. You have this, you have that, you know.
And,
If you
and
were to go ahead, Peter.
and even on the other side of it, if your friend says something that's off base in the other way, where they think that they are better than someone in some area, or that they are saying certain things about them being better than certain people, you also have the right to smack them back down to earth. Because that kind of stuff, even though it's not, self damaging, can still be as disastrous.
Yeah, and you know, if you think you're better than somebody, that's not good either because then you're telling the like I have another best friend who will be coming on this show,
Yes, he will.
um, who is a horrible communicator. He's just horrible. Uh, um, but Cody had to point out to me that's just who he is. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you, because he he's my other childhood best friend, you know, and he's like a brother. Um, my big brother, not to get personal, and I won't stay on this. My actual brother is a Columbine survivor, so my brother has PTSD or some form of it, we think, and he wasn't really around. So I had to really find my own brothers. Luckily, and not saying I don't love my brother because we get along now. He's fine and we get along, and we talked our issues out, and I love him. I know he loves me, but he's never gonna be what my friends are to me because he just wasn't there.
What do you
You
know?
know,
You're a poet and you didn't even know it.
really. But you know, Cody's had to remind me so many times that my best friend and my actual brother, they do love me. They just they don't. No person is ever gonna show up like another one does. And I think that's also important to remember because it's important to manage your expectations when it comes to friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Sometimes
that way you're
a
not horribly disappointed. Go ahead, Peter.
sometimes a friend can have different ways of looking at stuff than you do, or different ways of expressing themselves. Like sometimes you can be incredibly outgoing and see being around a whole bunch of people as the funnest experience ever. But then your friend or someone that you know can see being by themselves as being some of the best times, and that if if they take some of their time to spend it with you or with small intimate groups of people, that shows that they trust you and that they care for you, because they are stepping out of what is usually their comfort zone and opening themselves up more to you. Sometimes it's the small little gestures that you have to watch out for.
Yeah, and I think when we were younger, um, you know, we it was hard for me to accept that about you, you know, because Cody is very introverted and I'm very extroverted.
Which I mean,
And so,
it is funny that
go
I'm
ahead.
it is funny that I'm introverted. Some people would say, given my profession. So,
He's
but
an actor.
I am an actor. I've been trained in the theater arts for I think over 17 years, and been acting I was since I started being trained in grade school, so long
That was
time.
that was BR, folks, before Rami. Uh,
Yee.
um, but no, I've learned because of Cody, I've learned to be okay with introverted people, and that took me a while because anybody that's introverted, I would always look at us. They're weird because they don't want to socialize. But
Well,
the thing that
thank you.
I've learned is they're not weird. They just socialize in their own way. That's the key. People do their people do things their own way, and good friends accept people for who they are. Right, Peter?
Well put. And that is exactly it. Sono tori desu.
So, what have we covered? We've covered.
Well, we have covered the good. I think we've covered a little bit of the bad. Should we move on to the chunky?
Is it peanut butter?
Oh, it's peanut butter jelly time, Rummy.
Yeah. We we both we both love peanut butter, folks.
Oh, yeah. It is one of the best, probably even the best spread that you can use on a sandwich. or a waffle
You should
or
see this dude play Pokemon Violet or Scarlet. All he does is make sandwiches.
look. It's not my fault that I have the mentality of experiment number was it
625.
626 65, yeah. It's not my fault that I have the mentality of 625. Also, it's not my fault that the peanut butter sandwiches work perfectly for what I do in that game, which is breeding Pokemon.
All right, so what is the chunky part of this?
Well, the chunky is how that can spread out pretty much. It's the spread of the good and the bad and how they can mix to make something pretty darn awesome. One of the things that I always try to tell people is when you look at the world, a lot of times it's not black and white, it's just various shades of gray.
Right. And
Um,
it's about finding that gray area, buddy.
mm-hmm. But
Um,
some of the good examples of the mixing is, you know, we all will have rough parts of our lives. We'll all have some of the times where we need to verbally talk some sense into our friends, or we need to pull our friends up by the collar from that frozen lake of despair that they are in, or, you know, we need some of that stuff. And you can look at it as, well, it's a bad thing because they were in a bad place, but it's because they were in that bad place that they are able to learn from it and develop themselves as a person. You see, when you are living life, you can't stay in one place for too long. You have to keep moving. You have to keep making yourself a better person. You have to keep building on yourself because if you stop moving, then you are going to be the mossiest stone out there. You need to flow with the water that's in the river.
see, why couldn't Skylar just say that? Sorry.
Well, I mean, I just say it very flowery because I'm a poet, Romy.
I know, but I would have received it better. I had the folks. I had the same conversation with Skylar's my other friend I was mentioning earlier, and he's very. He can be very cut and dry about stuff. So, uh, but
It's one of the
no,
things that makes him an entertaining individual.
sure, entertaining.
He's coming on the show, Rami.
Skylar, if you listen to this, I love you, buddy. Uh, but no, I mean, to Cody's point, you need somebody to rescue you, but you also need to know each other's emotional limits.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, like sometimes a friend doesn't want to be rescued. Sometimes a friend just wants to sit. It's our job, as the friend that's trying to pull them out of despair lake, to be like, okay, you've sat in it for a while now. Let's try to get you up. you know. But it's also giving them the space. If they need to just sit there for a while, we can sit with them, you know.
Which sometimes which you need to know how much space to give them in those times. So sometimes having those fights with friends helps you develop, helps you feel around about how much space to give them. Or,
Right. How it shows you their emotional limits,
mm-hmm,
and I think people in general, they kind of um they like to push, they like to people think they're helping by pushing and they're really not. Um it's about listening, it's about just mutual respect.
mm-hmm. That is what it comes down to at the end of the day. You need to respect everyone because no one person is really better than any other person. Even if you say something like, oh, I'm richer, or oh, my parents are this, or I actually spent time with the Dalai Lama, or whatever you want to hold yourself to, at the end of the day, we're all still people. We're all still going down the same river of life. And at the end of the day, we're all going to die.
Yep.
So
Um,
we just need to
and
respect each other.
would you rather die alone or with people who care? I would rather die with people who care.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest fear is being alone. And I've worked really hard and surrounded myself with about 10 good individuals um, that I know that I'm glad that they're around till the death, you know,
I
not to
mean,
get all morbid.
well, I mean, Rami, it's good that it's good that you don't want to be alone and all that because you're not gonna get rid of us no matter how hard you try.
He does voices, folks.
I do. It's a way to entertain myself.
He hears them, they understand him. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Randy.
Randy. Uh,
Nerd.
um, but, you know, to just kind of reflect back on us, which to kind of start to wrap this thing up. Uh, I think that's what Cody and I do best now. Is we're good at just pulling each other out of Despair Lake or getting in with each other in Despair Lake and just being there. Um, I'm always grateful for him. I miss him because he's in Arizona and I'm in Colorado. But this is also why we're doing the show to um, keep that friendship tight. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
That's a way for
um,
us to hang out digitally.
so um, in short, we hope you'll come on this ride with us. We're we're sorry that or we apologize. I apologize if we seem a little all over the place, but that's kind of the way the show's gonna work.
I mean,
Um,
you need to strap yourself in, people. You need to strap yourselves in, people.
it's gonna be scary as fuck, people.
I mean, we don't have rails. We mentioned this. We don't have rails.
Yeah, but you know, as long as our message comes across, which this week it's all about friendship. Next week it could be who knows. But we're gonna try to come up with a subject every week to make you guys think.
Make you guys think, and to make you guys think that we actually have more than just a loose plan.
Yeah, we're smart.
Yeah. Wait, we are?
We, I, I, I think so.
When did this
I
happen?
think um I don't know.
It's
Peter, I'm scared.
okay,
Oh, and
Rami.
by the
We're
way,
just not
folks,
going to
if
be.
you hear me refer to Cody as Peter, it's Peter Griffin from Family Guy. I've been calling him that since 2005.
Which, I mean, I am rather rotund, and I do have glasses. I don't have the ball chin, but I mean, besides that, it can be a bit of a humdinger. Though
Peter.
I'm also, I would also like to think that I'm not like how he is as a person.
No, you're not dumb as a box of rock. Even though you will always be my Patrick.
Okay, you can be Dirty Dan. I just want to be Patrick.
We love SpongeBob, kids.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, we will be. I mean, what do you think, buddy? How do you want to wrap this up?
Well, uh, I can either tell a random fact, or we can have the intro song play again for the ending, or we can do
Well,
both.
should we tell them like we're gonna try to have an episode every Friday or Saturday?
Well,
Um,
it's going to be recorded then. Who knows when it's going to be put up? I'm going to try to put it up the next day or the night that
yes,
we record.
I'm sorry. We're gonna have recorded episode. We're gonna have episodes in the can
Yeah,
every.
in the
Um,
cane.
what kind of can is it?
Uh, I'm hoping a spam can.
Ew.
What man? Spam's delicious.
How about some canned pumpkin?
Ooh yeah.
There you go. Anyway, I just want to end this podcast like I will every week. Buddy, I love you.
Love you too,
Thank you
bro.
for being you. And, we look forward to you guys listening. And please drop a comment and let us know what you think.
Oh, now for a random fact of the day. Did you know that there are certain species of fish, including different species of eels and different species of gar, that can survive out of water because they have these primitive lungs that allow them to breathe air as they migrate
Oh,
to a new pond or thing of water?
two
Also, they
questions.
taste delicious.
Of course, you would know how they taste. Two questions. Do the eels have escalators? And are the gars gangars?
I mean, that's pretty ghastly of you to say, Rami.
Oh, stop hauntering out, Peter. Come on. That was terrible.
Well,
Well, join us next week, guys. We appreciate you being here. Um, any closing thoughts there, buddy?
my closing thoughts is that friendship can truly be a magical thing. Good night,
Don't
everybody.
soil your friendship garden, kids. Grow it. It's gonna be spooky and creepy. It might be, but it might be your friendship garden is as much as you put into it.
Mm-hmm. Well
All
said,
right.
SpongeBob. Well said. And now.
Thank you, Patrick. Were you in the brain coral again?
Good
Okay. See you next week, guys.
night, everybody.
Bye.